Welcome to the Completely Random Foolishness podcast. I am the host, Asia, and today's episode is all about live action remakes, and I'm talking about You, Kim Possible movie, but we'll get there. Before we get into all of that good stuff, I do want to briefly talk about what happened with this show recently, starting with the fact that this is a new setup. So if you're watching this on a video podcast instead of just listening to it as an audio podcast, then you'll notice I no longer have that black background behind me. And that is because I had to completely switch what I was doing. Well, you know what? We'll get into that in a second. Okay, so as you may or may not know, I put out my first episode about 4 months ago. And when I started, I had several technical difficulties and issues that just kept piling on one after the other. It was so frustrating, but I'd say the biggest issue was my laptop. I've had it up since about 2011, and it's pretty old at this point. It's Windows 7, which isn't a bad software, but a lot of things that I use now require Windows 10, and my laptop was old. It couldn't handle the things that I needed it to do, especially video editing, and I needed something reliable. So in November, after doing my 10th episode, my laptop just died. It gave out on me, and I was so upset because I had just filmed an episode. It deleted half of it. Like, it just erased half of it from the memory card. It was so weird. It was there and then it wasn't. And so I didn't realize that until I went to go and post it after I had edited it. And I put it on YouTube, and then I realized that half of it was gone. And I was like, oh my god. So I'm gonna get it fixed because I still need it, but I can't use it for editing anymore. So in the meantime, I had absolutely nothing to edit on, which means that I took a break. So if you've noticed, or if you haven't noticed, I don't know what you've noticed or not, I've been gone for like a month and a half. I don't really know. I'm not good with time. I took a break, and during that break I decided to do two things. One, I wanted to build a computer, buy all the parts to build it with the specs that I actually needed. So I was blessed and fortunate enough to be able to do that. Being a broke college student, sometimes these things don't really happen like you want them to. But I also want to give a huge thank you to Mr. Anderson for actually building the computer for me after I bought all the parts. You are so very kind and so very appreciated, because I definitely could not have done this myself. The other thing that I really wanted to do was to use this time to really buckle down and figure out what it was that I was doing with this show. I needed to get it together, and that was because I'm super new to podcasting, and these first few episodes for me have just been like trying to figure things out and get a feel for how I wanted it to go. And it's been a ride. It's been an emotional roller coaster, I will say. But from now on, I'm really expecting more out of myself, you know. That means like more time to plan, more time to edit, and just a better overall smoother running show. Because if you watched or listened to some of my previous episodes, you'll know that there have been some bumps in the road. So I call this the unofficial season 2. Things are going to go a little bit differently this time around, and I'm really excited. There we go. So one of the things, as you've probably noticed, if you're watching this as a video podcast, like I was saying earlier, you'll see that the background has changed, and that is because I got a new computer and I had to switch it to a completely different side of my room and make a little office section. Got my DVDs over here, more DVDs right here, and yeah, that's what we've got so far. So if you see me like looking from the computer and then looking back at the camera and then looking at the computer and looking at the camera, you know, if that gets kind of distracting, I am so sorry, but I'm still trying to figure this new setup out. I don't even have a tripod right now anymore because my tripod broke. Oh my god. And I don't have the funds to get the tripod that I really need, because this camera's kind of heavy, and a flimsy little tripod is not gonna do. Yeah, so that's that. Had to get that out of the way. Now on to the good stuff. Okay, we are currently living in the era of reboots and remakes. And in case you don't know what I mean, it's when they take a show or a movie that already existed, usually from a previous generation, and they redo it. Now, the concept in itself is not a bad thing, but when you take into consideration the details surrounding it, that is when it becomes a problem. A lot of the times they count on previous fans of the show or the movie to not only support it, but to hype it up. Why? Because of nostalgia. And I do believe that 90s kids have it the worst. And that's because 90s kids tend to have a case of the my era is better than yours disease, and for good reason. I think that the 90s and the early 2000s was a time where shows were creative and they were funny. And that's not to say that other generations don't have that, but this is like, you know, when I grew up. So I know about this. I know about this era in particular. And they were well thought out, and they didn't rely heavily on cheap jokes to get a laugh. They did have some, but that's not what they relied on. And I think that's the key difference between shows from today and shows from the past. Shows in the past did not treat their audience like idiots. And that, I think a lot of the content out there now for kids, it's rushed and it's poorly written, and they have like cheap animation or like fake looking sets. If it's a live action show, you can look at the set design, you can look at the way that they've designed everything, and you can tell that it's not real. It's really bad. And you know, especially because I am a film student, was a film student, and I want to get into the film career myself, I'm looking at all of this and I'm just like, holy crap, this is not up to standard. This is not up to standard. What are you doing? Okay, I'm getting off topic here. So, granted, I was born in 1998, so I can't really say that I grew up in the 90s per se, but I did experience remnants of it that did carry over into the early 2000s, and so that means I know firsthand just how different it was. I said all of that to say this: 90s kids love nostalgia, and that's why we have like Facebook pages. I think I'm a part of one actually. What is it called? Shoot, I don't remember. It's like 90s kid, only 90s kids remember. And that's like a saying or something. It's like a joke now at this point, but it's an actual saying that 90s kids, only 90s kids will remember, because it's like the joke that 90s kids think they're better with the nostalgia and the shows and all of that. So, like I said, 90s kids love nostalgia. And for that reason, a lot of companies are making bank off of that. You see, the turnover rates for these new shows are high. They just don't last long, and they don't make lasting impressions on the viewers, and so as a result, TV networks are tanking, and a lot of other things too, but a lot of other reasons why too. But so what they've done was try to cash in on what has worked before. And that's why we get things like Teen Titans Go, which was previously Teen Titans, something I was a fan of. And then they come out with Teen Titans Go, and it's a completely different thing. They've redone the characters' personalities, they've redone the art, and it feels like a completely different, vibe to the show. It's relying heavily on cheap jokes, and it's nothing clever about it anymore. And that's why we get things like Raven's Home, which is previously That's So Raven. Something else that was really popular when I was growing up, that they're trying to redo and appeal to the kids of this generation, and possibly bring in some of the older fans and count on them to teach the new kids, like, this should be good because That's So Raven was good. And that's why they're making a High School Musical 4. The first 3 High School Musicals were enough. We didn't need a 4th one. We're all grown up. All the kids who watched High School Musical 1, 2, and 3 are grown up now. We're not looking for a 4th one. So who are you making it for? You're making it for these new fans that have nothing to do with the first three. They're not going to care about it. They're not going to care. So some of you also might be saying, well, why should I care? I'm not the target audience anymore. It's not supposed to appeal to me. And that's where I'm going to have to stop you. Stop you right there. Because you see, actually, the previous fans are the target audience. I'd say at least 50%, and don't quote me on statistics, don't like numbers or math, but I'd say at least 50% of who they're trying to appeal to are the previous fans. Why? Because like I said, these new kids have likely never seen these shows before, never seen these movies before, not the old ones. Therefore, they don't care about it. To them, it's just another show. It's just another movie. It's nothing special. I mean, they're counting on people like me to hype it up like crazy and get more people, more new people to care about it. And that is what's going to bring the ratings back up. Okay. But here's where they fail. They fail in attempting to appeal too much to the new fans of this generation, so much so that they completely shut out the previous fans. And it is a huge insult to those of us who really love the old show or movie, because we're watching our beloved get basically flushed down the toilet. You're erasing the legacy, you're erasing the history. And for what? For money? I mean, honestly, it's the reason that these newer seasons of SpongeBob don't hold weight compared to the first 5 or so seasons. And again, don't quote me there. I know what I see in my head, but does it actually match up with... yeah, you get it. They lost the magic that was appealing to both kids and both adults alike, with the well thought out jokes in the writing. I'm a sucker for writing. You'll find that out. If you know me, you'll understand that the script to me is very important. If your script isn't good, you might as well throw the whole thing down the trash. It's garbage at this point. New SpongeBob, he only has one trait. And one trait only, basically. And I think it's called flanderization. It has something to do with The Simpsons and, what's the guy's name? Ned Flanders? I don't know. I don't watch The Simpsons. So, the thing that happened, I believe, with that is he had multiple traits, and as time went on, they focused mainly on one until it basically just became his only trait. And for SpongeBob, that would be his goofiness. So that leads to them writing him in completely ridiculous and zany plot lines that are usually just good for a chuckle or two. But does it leave a long-lasting impression? No, it doesn't. Why? It's not clever. It's not clever. It's not well thought out. It's not something that'll make you sit back and think. It's not relatable. It's usually just like a slapstick joke or something, which are fine every now and then, but you don't want that to be the whole premise of your show. Otherwise, like I said, no one's going to remember it. No one's going to care about it. It's not something that's going to leave a lasting impression. So back then, SpongeBob was an adult who just so happened to be optimistic and naive. But he was never too stupid to function, and the same actually goes for Patrick. He was known as one of the dumber characters in the show. He's always been known as that. But as time has gone on, he's become a new type of dumb. It's a new stupid. It's an advanced stupid. Y'all don't even know what that is. It's, like I said, it's too stupid to function. Yeah. But back then, that's not what he was. Did he do dumb things? Yes, he did. But he didn't seem like, I don't know. Silence. Crickets. I blanked. I don't even know the word for what he is now, but... And something else, it was the dichotomy between him and Squidward, SpongeBob and Squidward, that also made it super relatable and endearing. You've got the guy he's an adult. Here's the thing, they're both adults, okay? It'd be different if it was a kid and an adult. But you've got two adults here. You've got one of them who has let life really get the best of him. And when things go wrong, which they tend to happen often, he lets it really get him down. He doesn't have much optimism now. He's pretty pessimistic, and he's the complete opposite of SpongeBob, honestly, who is just, I don't know how to explain this. It's like they both work the same job, but they react to it and respond to it in completely different ways. Whereas they know, they know that they don't get paid much. They know that they work very long hours, and it's a really not fulfilling job if you look at it like Squidward, who wants to be, what does he want to be? He wants to be like an artist, a dancer, and a musician. He wants to be, so he has so many like high dreams and expectations for life, and yet he's working this like burger job as a cashier. His high school enemy, bully, whatever, Squilliam, has done like everything that Squidward has actually wanted to do with his life. And, you know, so when you look at all of that, you become a Squidward. And a lot of us, I think, in real life can easily become Squidwards if we're not careful. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have SpongeBob, who's basically going through the same thing, you know. He can't get his license, his boating license. He works the same job as Squidward. He doesn't have, like, the nicest of houses. He's not rich. You know, he's just living life, and he enjoys it to the fullest. And I think that it's the relationship between those two that made us in the beginning, like, whether intentionally or not, or whether we realize it or not, we really, like, related. We just related, and that's what they're missing. But I digress, because I am getting way off topic here. But I guess what I'm really trying to say is that I wouldn't mind reboots and remakes if they had a few key things. One, I wrote this out because I'm very particular about this. One, it doesn't detract from the original piece. Two, it isn't an obvious cash grab. Three, it doesn't insult fans from the original piece by only catering to the new fans. And four, they actually put some effort into it. I think number four is my biggest pet peeve, because even if you don't have the original three, at least put some effort into it. Please, like, honestly, anything that you make, like, do it with all of your heart. That is one of the things that I live by. I live by it. I don't care what it is, even if it's a job you hate. This brings me right back to SpongeBob. But even if it's a job that you really don't like, even if it's a job that doesn't treat you right, even if it's you're working at Burger King and you really want to work somewhere else. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with working at Burger King, but I'm pretty sure that most people don't have aspirations for that. Even if it's something like that, if that's what you're doing, like, you know, do it to the best of your ability. Don't, like, have anything. Just, like, put your all and your effort into it, and you watch how far that takes you. That kind of attitude will take you very far. And so it bothers me, and I'm really sorry that I get, like, passionate about this, but it really bothers me when people don't put effort into these new shows and into these new movies. It's like, honestly, it really is a cash grab. Number two, I wouldn't mind a reboot if it wasn't an obvious cash grab. I'm looking at you, Emoji Movie. I'm looking at you. You would think that number four isn't too much to ask for, but apparently it is. And so I'd like to throw a disclaimer out there. I have seen some reboots and some remakes that are worthwhile, and I think they've done an amazing job with updating the show to fit current times. I gotta preface this now, I never said that a remake or a reboot cannot cater to new generations, because I think that only catering to the previous got the hiccups. I think that only catering to the previous generation is, you know, pointless, I guess, because you might as well have just taken the original show. It's not a reboot if it's the same thing that you had before. Obviously, times change, and so does your product. Your product needs to grow. But I haven't, like I said, I can't talk today. I have a problem with when you cater too much to one side or the other. You gotta find a healthy balance. And so here are some things that I think found a healthy, what a kick. Here are some things that here are some movies and shows that I think found a healthy balance. Number one, I think the Maleficent movie was, I think it was pretty good. It focused on the villain and not the princess, which was different. I like that take on it, and I think that because they focused on Maleficent and not Sleeping Beauty, you know what, I don't know my princesses like I should. I had to think, I was like, wait, am I talking about Snow White or am I talking about Sleeping Beauty? Okay, Aurora, Sleeping Beauty. Because they focused on Maleficent and not Sleeping Beauty, I think the darkness of the movie was very fitting. Some people complained about the darkness of it. They also complained that Lana Del Rey's Once Upon a Dream cover was too creepy and too slow. Again, it's a movie about a villain. It's not supposed to be happy. I think it was beautiful. It fit the overall theme. That's just my opinion though. To me, it's very well done live action remake. It didn't take anything away from the original Sleeping Beauty, which was my number one key thing. Not only that, but the costume and set design was great. Not one time in that movie did I say, oh, that looks cheap. Yo, it looked like they put effort into it, so I really appreciated that. Wow. What else? I kind of want to bring this up. The Great Gatsby. The Great Gatsby. So, let's talk about that 2013 version. I think, in my opinion, and I know this is controversial because a lot of people don't like this movie, I think it's one of the greatest movies of all time. I really like it. It quickly became one of my favorites. I love the story, and I know that they didn't write that story. They took it from the book. But you know what? Book, book to TV show or book to movie, what do you call it? Adaptations often fail, and that's because you've got like two sides of the spectrum here. You've got the people who've read the original book and wanted to stay like the original book, and then you've got the people who could care less. Wait, no, who couldn't care less. Which one is it? They couldn't care less. These are the people that like don't care about the books at all. They just want the show or the movie, and you've got to please both crowds. You've got to cut some things out because you can't take everything from the book and make it into the movie. But you also can't, like, completely change it. You get what I'm saying? Because which number was that? Yeah. Number 1 and number 3. 1, it shouldn't detract from the original piece. And 3, it shouldn't insult fans from the original piece. There you go. And so that's why book to movie or book to TV show adaptations often, in my opinion, fail. This one, however, did not. And I especially liked their choice in music. And I say this because in the 20s, jazz was the thing. And not the type of jazz that you can hear today, but it was a very specific jazz that they had. And their music to them, it got them on a high, kind of. You can look at the history, and you can look at I won't say the history because I don't know too much about the 20s, but I do know that from the way that F. Scott Fitzgerald wrote that book, he wrote it noting in mind how these people reacted to the music of that time. And it gave them a very specific feeling at these parties, whether it was real or not. In the book, at least, it gave them a very specific feeling at the party. It was magical. And so I feel like had they stuck with putting 20s music in the movie and us watching it, we would have never felt the same magic that they felt, because this isn't the type of music that we listen to typically today. I won't say that some people don't, but typically I'm saying most people don't listen to 20s jazz. And so by putting in our music, even though it's not the original music that they listened to, it gave us that feeling that they had. And I think that was one of the smartest directing decisions that anyone has made in a movie. It was so very smart, because I felt the magic the entire time. I felt it. Let me go through my 1 through 4 things again. No, that movie did not detract from the original piece. As a matter of fact, it honestly added respect to it, because I hadn't read the book until I had seen that movie. If I had watched, which by the way I did go back and I watched the previous makes of The Great Gatsby, what was there, in a 2011 one, a 70s one, and there's one from a really long time ago, and I think they did one in the 20s too. What was it? It was Silent or something. I watched that too, parts of it, because you can't find the whole thing. I'm getting out of breath. But if I had seen those first, I would have never read the book. I would have never said it was interesting. I would have been like, this is not good at all. Why bother with the book? But the 2013 movie actually made me immediately go out and purchase that book and say, I have to figure out what the author was writing and the mindset. And then I compared the two, and I was like, yes, this is a really good adaptation of it. So 2, it wasn't an obvious cash grab. Did it make money? I don't know. I didn't research that. But did it look like they were just doing it to make money? No, it didn't. Number 3, did it insult fans of the original piece? I can't say because I wasn't a fan of the original piece before I had seen the movie, but I will say that if anyone was offended by the fact that they put newer music in there instead of having the 20s music, which I know that some people were, there were a lot of people, even though there were people that felt like that, there were a lot of people that really agreed with the music choice. So it's like a 50-50 there. And did they actually put some effort into it? Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. It was gorgeous. It was spectacular. The visuals, everything. It was it's just so beautiful. And I could talk about this all day, but I'm not. So, I want to get into the real reason that I wrote this episode. But before we get into that, I also want to mention a few reboots and remakes that are coming up soon. First, I know that there's a Clueless remake happening sometime in the near future, starring Dove Cameron. It's supposed to be a musical, I think, and it's supposed to be directed by the team that did Girls Trip. I don't know how true any of that information is, but I got it from this website, She Knows. So, there you go. There's my source. I'll reserve all judgments until I see it. But I'm a little scared, to be honest, because this is an iconic movie. Iconic movie. And, you know what, I'm just scared it's going to be butchered and then torn to shreds. Because some things just really can't be updated for a new generation. And I think, I'm going to be quite honest with you, I think that this is one of them. I think that Clueless is kind of, it's not timeless. It's supposed to be set in this very specific time, and these behaviors are like relevant to that very specific time. So if you try and you update it, well, I feel like the formula is going to be lost there. I don't know. We'll have to see. Like I said, I'll reserve all judgments until I actually do see it. Same goes for the Daria remake. Wow. Okay. Another 90s beauty right there that deserves to be left alone, I will say. It deserves to be left alone if they're not going to do it justice. So according to the website She Knows again, this time it's going to focus on Daria and Jody, and not Daria and Jane, which Jane was her best friend in the regular 90s MTV series Daria, which I actually have every single episode of that. I went and I bought it because it's that good. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend it, although it is pretty old at this point. So, and it's for like a very specific type of comedy. So if you don't like sarcasm and cynicism, then probably don't go get it. Don't go get it. But yeah, it's supposed to focus on Daria and Jody. Jody is the, I think she's the only black girl student in there at this school, or in the show in general. And it's supposed to cover topics like gender, race, and social constructs. So here's why I'm afraid of this one. I'm afraid it's going to be like a little too politically correct. Well, it's really hard to say this without having people attack me, so let's just go for it. Let's just go for it. I'm really hoping it doesn't become a political piece on feminism and race, just because that is not what the original Daria was intended for. So, if you want to make a piece on feminism and race, pick something completely else to do it. No, don't take something that was already there and change the formula. Just make it something new. So, I'm hoping that Daria and Jody doesn't become something that's just to make a political point. So, we'll see. Next up is the the Aladdin live action remake. Lord, did Twitter have a field day with this one. So, first things first, Will Smith is playing the iconic Robin Williams genie. Which, okay, fine. Probably not my first pick, I'm gonna be honest. But I'm not the one in charge here. They picked him for a reason. I don't know what that reason was. Maybe because he's a big name, maybe not. But as long as they make him blue, which I hope to God they make this genie blue, and Will Smith gives us the best version of it that he can possibly give, then fine. Whatever, I guess. Alright. But what I'm a little iffy about is the fact that they casted, I think this girl's name was Naomi, to play Jasmine. No shade, absolutely no shade to the actors for any of this movie. But the girl that they chose to play Jasmine just doesn't look like Jasmine. Not the Jasmine we all know and love from the cartoon. And I get it. I get it. It's hard going from a cartoon to live action. You can't expect things to look exactly the same. I'm just saying though, the girl that they chose really doesn't look like Jasmine. So I'll give it the benefit of the doubt though, because the setting of Aladdin, I don't really know what it is. It's like Agrabah, something like that. I don't know. And it, according to some other sources, I had to look this up because I had no clue where it was actually supposed to be set. It's supposed to be a mix of like Indian and Arab cultures. I don't know how true that is, but that's what they said on the internet. And I could tell because some of it really did feel like Arab and some of it really did feel Indian. It felt like a mix, like just a mosh of different things put together. Like they couldn't just choose one. So they did choose the actress. She is of Indian heritage, so thank God for that, I guess. Because they usually, I don't know, they had a bad habit of like casting white people to play non-white roles. Really, really weird, but well, that's really hard to touch on without offending like a trillion people. So once again, I'll reserve all judgments until I actually see it. And lastly, I want to talk about, before we get to the main point of this, I want to talk about the fact that we're going to get an Invader Zim movie, I think sometime this year. So I don't know if that's is it a remake? No, it's not a remake. It's probably more of a reboot. Because I think it's been 15 years since Invader Zim last aired a new episode. So yeah, that seems like a reboot anyway. The show is wonderfully weird. One of my all-time favorites. I even drew Invader Zim on my wall in Sharpie. I do Sharpie all. Can't talk. I do Sharpie wall art. I said Sharpie all. That's not a word. I do Sharpie wall art. I have some fish up there somewhere, like a aquarium scene, and actually over here in this corner behind my computer, I am trying to sketch out a design for like a huge tree. Love trees. Trees are great. But a huge like abstract looking tree, but I really don't want to start drawing it on the wall until I get like a finished sketch on a piece of paper and all that. So yeah, getting off topic. But I have an Invader Zim. Gosh, can I talk? I have an Invader Zim sketch on the wall behind me. One of my favorites. I've seen every episode probably like 3 or 4 times each, at least. And so I'm super pumped for it, actually. One thing that I'm grateful for is that they kept the art the same style. They just updated it to be like more crisp and clean. They've got, I think, like some of the same team working on it. The guy who created it, he's still here. Hallelujah. And they did the same for I gotta slow down when I talk because something is not going right here. They did the same for Total Drama Rama, which was a remake of the Total Drama series. They had like Total Drama Island, Total Drama Action, Total Drama World All Stars. Like they had a bunch of them, and I've like seen most of them on Netflix. It's like a parody of like a reality show, game show kind of thing. Pretty cool. I think that it's one of the better animated shows from that time period. I like it. So I really appreciate the fact that for Total Drama Rama, they've got the same art style and they haven't like completely changed everything about the characters that we know and love, if you know and love them. So yeah, that's that. And now, without further ado, I present to you the entire inspiration behind this episode, and it is none other than the 2019 live-action Kim Possible movie, hence the title. Live-action movies, live-action remakes are the worst. They just are. And here's why. Let's get into this. Ooh boy. Alright. So, the 2019 live action Kim Possible movie. I want to mention that I watched a very, very good video on this subject by Drew Gooden, and I completely agree with everything he said. So, let's talk about it. Kim Possible was a show, debuted in 2002, warmed the hearts of many boys and girls everywhere. Kim was basically what I wanted to be when I grew up. She was like, I don't know, she was your basic average girl. She was here to save the world. But she was still pretty cool. She had this aura around her that's just like, she was that girl that you looked up to. You wanted to be her. And, you know, she just happened to kick butt. That's, you know, simple stuff. I really have to be careful how I go about this, again, because I don't want to show any hate to the cast. I don't want anybody to come at me angry. Because the cast has probably worked really hard on this. That's one thing that I can give actors and actresses. A lot of the times, it's not their fault when a movie or a TV show flops. They do the best that they can with what they're given. And I think that's what happened here. So, the cast deserves nothing, they don't deserve anything less than respect. But, there's a but here. Looking at the trailer and the first look scene that Disney has posted on YouTube, I have very little hope for this movie. Very little. And I will say, action movies, action shows, they're pretty hard to translate to live action from animation if your budget is not there. If you don't have a big budget, well, yeah, you really might want to consider doing an live action remake of an action animated show, because it takes a lot to make the special effects look good. And I don't know what the budget is for this movie, but considering that it is a made-for-TV Disney movie, I suspect the budget was not all that high. And I look at the effects, and I look at the stunts, I look at the set design, and I'm a little disappointed. Just a little disappointed, because it doesn't look realistic at all. If you look at the scene, and I'm trying to think, I think like Kim, like, she like broke into this room, she's got like people behind her or something, they're like, they've got like their action stance pose or whatever, and then there's Dr. Draken and there's Shigo, and they're like standing in the lair, and it looks really fake. It looks really, really fake. It looks like these new Disney shows that Disney has now. They look like they were made on a studio set. I don't know what you call that. It's leaving my mind right now. I'm blanking on it. But it's when you have like, say you have a house TV show, you don't film it in an actual house. You build a stage. There you go. You build a stage, and it looks very staged. There are some stages that look real. There are some that don't. The Kim Possible movie is one of them. It doesn't look real. And so that's where I run into my fourth requirement for a good remake. It has to look like effort was made. And I don't really see the effort in the set design. I just don't. I don't see it in the writing either. Of course, I can't say too much because the movie isn't out yet. And the only thing I've seen is the trailer and that first look. But from the lines that I've heard from the trailer and from the first look, so far, doesn't sound good. Sounds very cheesy. Sounds very, very cheesy. Doesn't sound clever. Doesn't sound cool. Doesn't sound like anything from the original show, to be honest. Let's talk about the costumes. Oh boy. Oh boy. Dear Lord, help me, Jesus. I don't understand for the life of me why they felt the need to change Kim's iconic look. Like I said earlier, I get having to update things for the new generation, but you cannot take something iconic and change it. That there are some things that you change and there are some things that you don't change. That's one of them. That's why I was upset about the Clueless remake, because I feel like they're gonna change Cher's like iconic plaid yellow outfit. Like, what are you gonna... That's part of what made Cher who she was, and part of what made Kim who she was the legendary look. The quarter length sleeve, like, you know, comes like not all the way down to your wrist, but like between your elbow and your wrist. That's a quarter sleeve length. God. And it's a turtleneck, and it's a crop top. It's all of those in one, and the big baggy green cargo pants. What happened here? You know what? I'll tell you what happened. They were probably afraid of two things. One, probably afraid of not appealing to these younger kids with the giant pants. Skinny jeans have pretty much taken over giant cargo pants and just giant pants in general. So, yeah, they probably were like, kids are going to be like, what is she wearing? What is that? They weren't going to think she was cool, I guess. And two, they didn't want to have that girl out there in a crop top. Okay. Oh boy. That's getting into something. But we'll come back to that in a second. I think that the change in outfit that they gave Kim is part of what makes Sadie Stanley, who is the lovely actress playing Kim, and when I say lovely, I'm not being sarcastic. She seems very, very nice, very genuine, very sweet. But it makes her look really out of place. Sadie commented on this on Twitter, I think, and she says, and I quote, "I won't apologize for the fact that my face/body do not exactly replicate the idealized/over-sexualized image of a cartoon character. Please wait to watch this movie, before you decide how you feel about it or the casting. Be open-minded, be kind." Here's what I have to say about that, Sadie. I'm really glad you stood up for yourself, because there were a lot of people sending you a lot of hate messages, and I think that, something as trivial as a Disney movie doesn't really, affect your life that much. Why would you come for a kid? I don't condone that at all. Please don't send hate messages to a child. She's probably not that much younger than me, actually. I'm 20. I know I don't look like it, but I am. I don't know, she looks like she's like 15, maybe. Let me look it up. Sadie Stanley. How old are you, girl? Oh, Lord. No. That's Stanley Sadie. I mean, he's 74. Not that guy. Right. Sadie. Oh, she's 17. Look at that. Okay. She's not that young, but she's still, like, young. So, don't come for her. But with that being said, Sadie, I agree with you. You're right. You don't look like Kim Possible. And that's not to say that there's anything wrong with you. It's just that you look like Sadie and not like Kim. You, in my opinion, just were not, you just weren't the best pick, appearance-wise, for Kim. Not a huge deal, but, here's why, probably. A lot of the time, older people get cast to play high school students, so we get this warped idea of what teens actually are supposed to look like. But there's a second part to that, okay? It's refreshing to see someone play their own age, but like I said, there's a second part to that. It's not just that they put, older people to play high school students. It's actually kind of accurate in a way, because in that time period, in the early 2000s, a lot of teens looked older than they really were. And that actually happened like in the 90s and in the 80s and in the 70s. Just going back in time period, people looked older than I won't say they looked older than they were, but they certainly look older than the kids we have today. Kids and teens that we have today. So I'm stuck in between a rock and a hard place. Yes, I want someone to play Kim that is actually the actual age of Kim and not like a 25-year-old. But I also want maybe someone who looks like Kim did. And I don't think that Kim was over-sexualized in the original show. I think it was just really accurate. A lot of kids today and teens wear crop tops, and so did they in the early 2000s. So it's not like they just made it unrealistic. It's just what she wore. It's what they wore. So it wasn't like, I don't know how else to put it. So I'm really sorry that someone as wonderful, talented, and beautiful as Sadie is, she just doesn't embody the Kim that we are used to. I looked at Kim like a really cool older sister, someone that I wanted to grow up and be like. And part of the way that Sadie carries herself, and part of the costume, and part of it is the writing that just really makes Sadie not look like Kim, or not feel like Kim. But it's not just Sadie. I think that Disney really did flop with the casting. I was looking at Wade and Dr. Draken and Shigo and Ron. I'm very concerned with some of the ways they're going to portray these characters. Shigo needs to be a little bit more threatening, in my opinion. Not just pretty and green. The actress that they chose, she was pretty. She was green. Was she threatening? Not really. Not really. Shigo needs to make you feel like you want to go through your emo phase all over again. But this Shigo doesn't. She just looks green and pretty. So, I don't know what else to say. Draken in this movie, unless I'm just really mistaken, I don't think he was blue. And, just like I said, the genie in Aladdin needs to be blue. So does Dr. Draken. He needs to be blue, not just, like, pale with blue veins. Not the same. Really not the same. I don't know what to say about that. And Wade. Okay. Wow. Wade. Wade is like, I don't know, Wade's probably like 10 in the original series. He's really laid back, he's calm, super freaking smart, seems older than he really is, doesn't look like it, but he seems like it from the way that he carries himself. But, that's Wade in the original animated show. This Wade that we got now in this movie, he's a little hyper little kid, and it looked like he was just a hyper little kid that just so happened to know when the doors on Kim's school bus would be closing. Has nothing like the original Wade, who was actually, like, he actually knew information that mattered, not just when her school bus doors would be closing. I don't know, that doesn't seem like Kim at all, to just, do all of that flippy rolly stuff and running to get to the school bus just to get up there and be like, I made it! Yeah, no, normal kids don't do that, and neither did Kim. She was your basic average girl, not a loser, but also not really cool. She was in the middle. She had enemies. She was, talked trash about by cool popular cheerleader Bonnie, but she never, like, made herself look that stupid. I don't know. I'm actually happily surprised, though, with the casting of Ron. I think that's the one thing I disagree with Drew Gooden. I like the guy that plays Ron. What's his name? Sean. He's on the Goldbergs. That's how I know him. But, he seems to be kind of accurate so far. As long as, they make his character eat at Bueno Nacho. And he's a pleasant, awkward. I think we're good to go. There's really not much else I could say about Ron. Ron's sweet. He's loyal. He's awkward. But he's also kind of a loser. I don't know. I don't think it's that hard for Sean to play if he just puts a little effort into it. We'll see. Also, I guess, where is Monique? Where is she? Kim's best friend besides Ron? I was really excited to see Monique, honestly. Monique in the show, the original show, she was one of my favorites. I liked Monique. She was fashionable. She was cool. And I was really excited to see who they had casted as her, but I didn't see her anywhere, so I'm assuming she's not going to be in this movie, which makes me kind of sad. So, I don't mean to be a massive complainer, but this was something that was really precious to me growing up, and, I don't know, I looked up to Kim a lot, and it kind of just felt like a stab in the heart when I saw the trailer. It was like they didn't really care about the original fans. It's like they didn't put effort into it, and, I don't know, some things just really need to be left alone, I guess, and that was one of them. I've introduced younger people to Kim Possible, that had never seen it. Young girls who used to watch shows that, I guess, I won't say they were inappropriate for their age, because I guess that, I don't know, that kind of depends on, like, their parents, what they let them watch. Personally, I wouldn't have let these girls watch some of the stuff that they were watching. I just want kids to be kids. And so I was thinking, like, what did I watch when I was a kid? What's something like a good role model for you to look up to? And I was like, Kim is one, honestly. Kim is a really good role model. So I introduced them to it, and they loved it. And they absolutely loved it. So it's not like I can't, possibly fathom letting new people share in my love, or with my generation's love for Kim Possible. That's not it. It's just that I wish that they had done it justice. That's all. So anyway, when the movie comes out, I'm gonna try and watch it and go into it as unbiased as possible. Don't know how possible that's gonna be. Kim Possible. Okay, anyway. Well, that is it for this episode. That is it. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure you come back next Wednesday for more. Thank you for your support. I am out. Peace.